Radio Prague International, the external service of Czech radio. News.
An opposition senator calls on Germany and Austria to examine loans made to the Prime Minister's business interests. Czech soldiers are to remain in Iraq despite rising tensions, and last respects are paid to a survivor of the Lidice massacre of World War II. Czech opposition senator Lukáš Wagenknecht has called on central banks in Austria and Germany to examine loans provided to the Agrofert conglomerate founded by Prime Minister Andrej Babiš. The senator is hoping to learn more about how
to have them is not to realize, not to believe that God...
European Commission audits leaked to the press have found Babiš in conflict of interest because he continues to exert influence over Agrofert, despite placing it into trust funds in 2017. Senator Wagenknecht wants to determine whether Agrofert gave false or contradictory information to German and Austrian banks regarding beneficial ownership of that conglomerate. Czech soldiers deployed in Iraq will remain stationed there despite rising tensions since the United States killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani last week. The Czech army currently has around 40 soldiers and police officers in Iraq, mainly working to train Iraqi security forces.
Right next up to Canada. So they get dumped on.
Coordination with NATO allies, a defense ministry spokesman said. The Ministry of Culture list, a first steps towards possible inclusion on UNESCO's such list. Fromberg has been known for its exquisite lace production since the 17th century, and the first school of Roman lace opened there in 1899. The Uherské Hradiště region, along with the Slovácko Museum, have been looking to have village feasts tied to Christian holidays and seasonal events included on the checklist for many years. People in Prague on Tuesday paid their last respects to Miroslava Kalibova, among the last survivors of the Lidice massacre, who died in late December at the age of 96. Her funeral took place today at Prague's Motol crematorium. As a 19-year-old, she witnessed her father and other innocent male villagers executed by the Nazis in retaliation for the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich, known as the Butcher of Prague.
Despite the great difficulty of acquiring computers in 1980s Czechoslovakia, amateur enthusiasts still managed to do so and produced hundreds of computer games, some of which were politically subversive. They frequently did this on jerry-built computer systems, while homemade arcade games were also to be found. This scene is the focus of the book, Gaming the Iron Curtain.
We don't have any evidence of that. The secret police records don't really show any systematic surveillance of computer clubs or kind of computer hobbyists. So it seems that there was really no kind of repercussions for that. Also, most of these kind of activist games, political games, were released anonymously, so there was no kind of names that could, signatures that could kind of connect the game to the author, and in many cases we still don't know who made those games. In some cases it kind of surfaced like later in the 90s. But people were kind of wary of the some potential repercussions, but it seems that there were really none.
There's a fantastic image in your book of a whole series of cassette tape inlay cards with the names of games like Tetris and dozens of others. Tell us about the role of cassette tapes in the computer game scene here.
Back then, cassette tapes were the primary data storage medium. In the West, they were kind of slowly being phased out in the late 80s, but here, just because of the lower buying power and just like kind of general kind of relative backwardness, they remained in heavy use until the early 90s, especially among kind of young hobbies, young people, teenagers and so on, who couldn't afford like a better computer or a disk drive. So most software in the 80s was circulating on cassette tapes. And that had some advantages because cassette tapes could actually be kind of bought easily. Not easily, but they were more available than floppy disks, for instance. Much more readily available. So they could buy cassette tapes and then record games on those. But if you would play them in a tape deck, it would just be noise, but the computers kind of converted the analog signal into a digital signal.
Also, and this surprised me a great deal, there were kind of arcade games here also that were kind of giant bulk homemade.
Yeah, they were, and I have people that I interview sometimes lend me their hardware, and I usually take pictures. But most of the time, I then return it to them because I don't have space. I actually think that I don't have a backing of like a memory institution like a museum, and I think it's a big shame that there's currently kind of no museum in the Czech Republic that would collect these artifacts. There are some private collectors who have really good collections, and sometimes there are exhibitions in different places of these, of hardware usually. But I definitely think that an institution should start doing this.
Yaroslav spoke about interview was first broadcast in May of last year. And I'm afraid that's all we have time for in today's program. Please send any comments you might have to english@radio.cz. And you will, of course, find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. But for now, from me, Ian Bradley, and everybody here at Radio Prague International, thank you very much for listening, folks. And
from Okeechobee and reach into the keys, blaze the mind.
Ότι δεν υπάρχουν άνθρωποι να σε τρέξουν, ότι εμείς οι κολοπάθμες πια ό,τι...
To pass through solid objects. Doesn't that sound like fun? I want to pass through solid objects, okay?
USA. Contact us at info@WRMI.net.
Waiting in the ever